Hello everyone, how are you? Hope all is good at your end. So, again, I'm here today for the debrief session of the upcoming paper of F5, and this debrief session will actually be focusing more on MCQs because MCQs solving technique is very important. As we covered the basic concepts of a couple of topics in these previous 5 days, we have covered all the important areas. So now it's time for some MCQs. So what I'll be doing is I'll be doing the exact answers of the MCQs, plus I'll be explaining you very important techniques about how to solve the MCQs. Because sometimes, my friend, if you are unsure of the answer, still you can get the answers, still you can get 2 marks because if there is a theoretical MCQ, so working smartly helps you a lot, and I'll actually explain you how this can be done. Now, this is a paper. I'm sure you must have solved the mock. This is a 3-hour 15-minute paper, and as I told you in the first class that it includes section A, 15 questions, which are compulsory. Section B, it includes all 15 questions. Again, there are compulsory questions. Section C includes both questions are compulsory and must be attempted. So the entire paper is actually compulsory, you know. But 30 MCQs and 2 long questions. Got it? There is no planning time anymore, and it's just the 3 hours 15 minutes that you just have to solve and do your paper. Now, the first question is about life cycle costing. The best thing about attending a mock is you will get to know the knowledge that I am giving you for each and every topic, and that is good, which will cover more of your syllabus. What is the budgeted life cycle cost per unit for a product P? I'll be giving you little of the concepts of the topics so that you get to know. So it's very important that you listen what I'm saying. It will give you a very good opportunity to revise the important things of the topics. Okay. Now, my friend, life cycle costing is a technique which believes in entire life cycle cost. It says that a product entire life cycle cost should be matched with its entire life cycle revenues. So it is not like a periodic accounting technique. In fact, it says that if a product has a life cycle of 3 years, you should consider the entire 3 years of that product. And whatever decision you take, it should be on the entire life cycle, not just 1 year of the product life cycle or the 2 years. So you need to consider the entire life cycle. Okay. So here we are required to calculate the budgeted cost, budgeted life cycle cost per unit for product P, and we are provided with few details. That is, design cost will be incurred at development phase, depreciation, decommissioning cost at the end of the life. This is decommissioning cost, which is an environmental cost. Production and sales of units, machine hours, cost per unit of manufacturing, and you're also provided with fixed production budgeted overheads of 72 million with the hours given to you 96 million. Okay. So let's calculate the cost per unit here and see what the answer we are getting for this particular question 1. Now, what I need to do here is very simple. I'll be calculating the cost. Number 1 will be Okay. Number one will be the manufacturing cost first. So manufacturing cost will be, there are 300,000 units multiplied by 20 is the per unit cost. So this makes around 6 million is the manufacturing cost. Okay. The second is the design, depreciation, and decommissioning cost. So what you need to do here, you just need to add all three to get the sum of 1320000. So it's just simple. You need to just add these three costs. It's 800,000 plus it's 500,000 plus it's 20,000 decommissioning. So this is the total of the design, depreciation, and decommissioning cost. Moving forward, the next cost is a one that will be included in the product through absorbing it. And you remember that we discussed about absorption costing. So we need to absorb the overheads here. Fixed overheads are required to be absorbed. So how to absorb fixed overheads is that you need to work out OAR first. And how will we calculate OAR? It's a simple formula, budgeted overheads divided by budgeted labor hours, machine hours, sorry. So if you look here, you have a budget overhead of 72 million and the machine hours are 96 million. So this will give you OAR of 27 point, sorry, this will give you a OAR of 0.75 per hour. Now what do you need to do? You just use this OAR of 0.75 per hour and multiply it with the hours per unit. So per hour unit is 4. So this gives you the per unit costs of 3. Okay. Then you multiply this with the number of units, and that and those are 300,000. So this gives you a total of 900,000. So in this particular question, it was important to calculate OAR and then absorb the overheads on the basis of the OAR calculated here. Got it? So if you add all three, 6 million, 1.3 million, 900,000. So you get a total of total life cycle of 8220000 is the total cost of life cycle. Okay. Now what you need to do, you just divide this with the number of units of the entire life. Now make sure it is important that you need to consider entire life here. And this is the basic point behind life cycle costing. Don't get confused. Always in life cycle costing, consider the entire life. Each and every cost will be included, whether it is a recurring cost or it is a non-recurring cost. Okay? So, life cycle cost per unit came 27.4, which is option C. Got it, everyone? Any issues? I'll be taking questions after every 5 MCQs. Okay? So just write it down, whatever issue you are facing right now. So this is basically the calculation of the first MCQ, life cycle costing. The message is quite clear. Consider the entire life cycle cost, whether it is one-time cost or it is a recurring cost. Okay. Now, C was the answer. Now let's come to MCQ number 2. This MCQ relates to CVP analysis, cost volume profit analysis. And what you're required to work out is you need to tell the number of units which the company needs to sell to make a profit of 45,000. So basically this is a case of target profit. And in case of target profit, you have a formula. And what's the formula? The formula is that whenever you need to work out the units in order to achieve a certain profit, like target profit, as mentioned here, the formula is fixed cost plus target profit divided by contribution per unit. But remember, this will be average contribution per unit. Okay, so this is the formula you will be using here. So let's work out here. The question says that the company sells X and Y. Twice as many units of X are made and sold as that of, twice as many units of product Y are made and sold as that of X. So actually, you sell one X and on the other hand, you sell 2Y. So 2Y is sold with 1X. Okay? The contribution of X is 10, the contribution of Y is 4. Fixed cost is 90,000. Target profit is 45,000. So what we need to do first? First we need to do a small calculation of average contribution per unit. Now, according to question, if it's 1X, so the contribution is 10. And with 1X, we sell 2Y, so the contribution of Y is 8. Contribution per unit. Okay? So, for Y, it will be 2 units. So, the total contribution for 3 units is 18. Okay, is 18. Now, you need to calculate the average of this. So, what you need to do? You need to divide this by 3 so that you get average contribution. And why we are doing it average here is because the fixed cost is a fixed cost that relates both to X and Y. So both X and Y has the responsibility to cover the fixed costs. It's not just X will cover, Y will also cover. So if I divide it, so I get contribution per unit average of 6. Okay. So it will be 6 here. The fixed cost is 90,000. The target profit you need to achieve is 45,000. And the contribution per unit average is 6. So if you work out this, you will get the answer of 22,500 units. These are the units that if company is successfully selling it, so company will cover its fixed cost and will also earn a target profit of 45. Okay, I'm sure the working must be clear. I already told you I'll be taking questions after every 5 MCQs. Got it, guys? Now, next comes a question of, the answer was B here. Okay. Next comes the question of material yield variance. Now today I'll be telling you a shortcut because it's MCQs, so you can work out through a shortcut. The answer would be same as the way we learned in the class. But this is, because this is an MCQ in which you are not required to show calculations, make sure you are not required to show calculations so you can do it in a shortcut way. The company produces 3 products, J, K and L. The standard material cost of unit is as follows. It requires 5, 3 and 2. And the cost per unit is given. The actual consumption is also given to you. I'll solve in the same way, but this will be in a shortcut way. And I'm sure you will like the shortcut here. So what's the shortcut? I'm sure you must have solved the question at your homes, and right now it's just the comparison and the understanding that we're doing. Because the purpose of the debrief is never to give you time to solve the MCQs, it's just to discuss what you've already done. Okay? So now you compare your MCQ answer with the answer that I'm doing right now. So what we need to do? We need to calculate material yield variance. Okay? So what the calculation in terms of shortcut will be? If you remember, we worked out yield and the formula of that was actual input in standard mix. Okay? So what I'm doing here, I'm writing here the total. I'm working in terms of total. I'm not breaking up that into individual material types. I'm just working it in terms of total. So if I add all 3 actual kgs starting from 13,200 till 9,300, the total that I'm going to get is 29,000. Okay, the total will be 29,000. So the actual input in total that I've used is 29,000. Once again, I'm telling you, I'm not breaking this into individual material types because this is a shortcut. So actual input in standard mix, and one can also learn this through remembering this as a total input method calculation. What we discussed in class was individual input method, and this is total input method. Now the second was, if you remember, it was standard input allowed. Okay, standard input allowed in standard mix. So how will we calculate this? It's quite simple. As we were calculating for each and every individual material, now we'll be calculating for all the 3 in a combined way. So the method will be 5 kgs of J, 2 kgs of K and 3 kgs of L. So if I add all, so this becomes 10 kgs per unit are required. 10 kg input is required per unit. Okay? And how many actual units we are planning to make is 3,000 units. So if you recall, it's the same formula. Kg, standard kg per unit, multiply by actual units. Okay? So for these 3,000 kgs, for these 3,000 units, you need to have an input of 30,000. You need to have an input of 30,000. So if you see the quantity variance, it comes around 1,000. Okay? And now you need to multiply this with the standard rate. Is this clear, everyone? So I'm sure this working is quite clear to you because I've done this working in terms of total. It's 10 kgs per unit. I've added all three and multiplied that with the number of units of 3000 because I want to produce 3000 units. So I should have used 30,000 units, sorry, 30,000 kgs. Instead, I have used 29,000 kgs. So it's quite clear that I have used less kgs, and using less kgs is always what? Favorable. It's always favorable because I've used less kgs. Okay. Now the rate. This time, as we're not working individually, so we need a combined average rate. So how we will calculate the combined average rate? The method is quite simple. 20 per unit for J, 24 per unit for K, and 24 per unit for L. If you add all three, this becomes 68, which means cost of material per unit is 68. Cost of material per unit is 68. So cost per unit is 68 and it's 20 plus 24 plus 24, so it becomes 68. Now you divide these with the kgs per unit. So the kgs per unit required are how much? 10. If you look here, you can find out 10. Okay. So what is the answer? The answer of cost per kg is 6.8. 6.8. So what you will do, this 6.8 now will be used here, and this 6.8 is the rate with which you need to multiply, and you'll get the cost variance. So the answer is 6,800 favorable. So guys, is this a shortcut? Yes, it is, because I work everything in terms of total. But yes, the rate needs to be adjusted then. You need to calculate the average rate. Is this clear? So the correct answer is 6,800 favorable. And you know why it's favorable? Because the actual input that you have used is less compared to the standard that was allowed to you. Okay. Now, let's move to the next fourth MCQ, and after 5 I'll be taking your questions. A manufacturer detail of kitchen introduces ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning System. Now ERPs are basically integrated softwares that integrate the entire organization areas. That is, it integrates the production, human resource, finance, HR. It integrates every department, marketing. So every department is integrated through ERPs. So these are those softwares that integrate the entire departments of the organization. Now the benefit of ERP is that if you enter from one department, the impact of that will automatically go to every department, which means the things are automatically updated. So ERP has benefits, but the question says, which of the following is not likely? So these are the key things for theoretical MCQs. Especially questions that are in negative tone are important one to understand, because it's saying you need to find out the answer which is not the benefit. So the focus will be on a point that is not a benefit of ERP. Not a benefit. Okay. So which of the following is not likely to be potential benefit of ERP? Now, the first answer, the first option, schedule of labor are prepared for manufacturing. Yes, ERPs are used for preparing the schedule of labors for manufacturing. It is all computerized system, so this is a benefit of ERP. Inventory records are updated automatically. Yes, once you have entered, once your product is sold from any department, once the system is updated, it will have an impact on all the areas. The inventory records will automatically be updated. Sales are recorded into financial ledgers. Yes, it's a simple thing. Critical strategic information can be summarized. No, this is not the benefit of ERP. This is the answer. The question says why this is not the benefit. Because this is a benefit of executive support system. I repeat, executive support system, RO1. RO1, those actually summarizes the information for top management. So executive support system are the system that are used for decision making by the senior management. So do listen all the information that I am giving right now. So they are useful for strategic managers, senior managers. And why is that? It is just because that senior manager needs summarized information. So executive support system produces that summarized information. So the answer is D. Okay, which is not the benefit of ERP. MCQ number 5. This MCQ is a one that relates to environmental management accounting. Now this is a change in the paper, my friends. And what is that? That once MCQs, the amount of MCQs have increased, the examiner has now the luxury to test everything. It can come from any topic. So question spotting is difficult now. It is not advisable to spot out the questions. In fact, it's better to have complete knowledge of the syllabus, because one MCQ worth 2 marks and one MCQ can become the reason for pass or fail. So this is the luxury that your examiner now has, that he can test anything now. Anything that he wants to test, it is easy for him to test. Okay? So this is an MCQ that is coming from environmental management accounting. EMA has 4 accounting techniques. One is EMA with activity-based costing. One is EMA with life cycle costing. Now what EMA ABC is, I'm just giving you overview as well so that you get to know more and more knowledge. We have discussed ABC in our class. ABC breaks overhead into cost pool and cost drivers. Environmental management accounting says that there should be one cost pool of environment. One cost pool of environment. So the question comes, why? Now remember, ABC breaks the overheads. In those overheads, there are general overheads as well. I repeat the word, general overheads as well. In those general overheads, there is environmental cost. The question comes, what is environmental cost? For example, utilities. which includes electricity bills, water consumption bills. This is an environmental cost. Sir, why is that? Because my friends, if the company is using too much of electricity or water, so this is creating harm for the society. So this is an environmental cost. More bill, more environmental cost. Plus any penalties, any fines that the company has to pay because of carbon dioxide emission. Too much of carbon dioxide emission is an environmental cost. My objective right now is to assist you in every way. That is why I'm giving you a little background of each and every topic, so that whatever you listen will be helpful for you. So my friends, environmental costs are generally hidden in the overheads. So what environmental ABC means is that when we find each and every cost pool, so there should be one cost pool that relates to environmental cost. And we need to find out a respective cost driver of that as well. So if we found out a separate cost pool and allocated all the environmental costs into that cost pool and found a separate cost driver, so it will give opportunity to control the environmental cost, like ABC helps to control overheads. Okay. Then comes life cycle concept. As I told you in the first MCQ, that we should consider the entire life cycle cost, whether it's recurring or it's non-recurring. So EMA with life cycle means that life cycle should include every cost of a product, including the environmental cost of the product. Now, what is environmental cost? Let me give you a very good example here. This decommissioning is an environmental cost. And I'm sure you know what decommissioning is. At the end of the project life, we need to bring that particular location in the same position as that was when we took over that land. For example, we took a land for 20 years on a lease contract. So we need to make sure that once we leave, the land is in the same condition as it was. Got it, my friends? So this is decommissioning cost. So what EMA life cycle means? It means that it should cover the entire life cycle cost, including environmental cost that relates to a product. Then there are two more techniques: input and outflow, input and output analysis, and flow cost accounting. So right now, one of these techniques involve analyzing costs under three distinct categories: material, system, delivery, and disposal. So the technique is flow cost accounting, because flow cost accounting tells the flow of the material. I really want to teach you more of F5 so that it gets good and clearer for you, but because the time shortage, you cannot. So I would have explained you in very detail what flow cost accounting is. But right now, just remember one thing: according to flow cost accounting, it tells you the entire flow of the material from input till output, and it uses three things for that: material, system, delivery, and disposal. Okay. The last technique that I see here is input and output analysis. According to this technique, what comes in must go out. This is basically a reconciliation of kgs. Reconciliation of kgs. If you are input 100, so reconcile how much is output and how much got wasted. How much is output and how much got wasted. Whatever got wasted is environmental cost. Okay. So my friends, I am giving you maximum knowledge. I would really want to teach you the entire F5 right now, but I cannot because of the time limitation. So whatever you can get out of it, take it. This is the best opportunity, and those who have already studied F5 before, and I'm sure all of you would have done, so this is a quick revision that you're getting here and with some different words. Okay, let's take up few questions and let's see what people has to say about. Okay. Sir, why we have taken 3 as units? Please explain. Where is 3? I can't find 3 here. Which MCQ you're talking about? MCQ 4. Yes, Tanya, MCQ 4. I'll repeat. The MCQ 4 is basically relating to ERPs. So, enterprise resource planning are integrated computerized systems, and these systems are actually a one that integrates the entire organization activities. So the answer is D because D is basically the advantage or benefit of executive support system. And I told you executive support system is an information system that provides summarized level of information to strategic manager decision making. Material mix, no. Material mix will be calculated in the same way, okay? Thank you. MCQ 5 knowledge I've explained you, and thank you very much for appreciating. And I try my best every time. MCQ 2. MCQ 2, you are saying 3. Okay, now 3 is the units. 2 units of Y and 1 unit of X. So this makes 3 units. Okay. Strategic information is high level information. For example, which new products to develop, which new markets to enter. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Now let's take up questions after more 5 MCQs. Now, MCQ number 6. And what's that? A government is trying to assess the school by using a range of financial and non-financial indicators. Okay. Now, first of all, before I move on to this MCQ, let's recap one more thing. This is the best revision you're going to get it. Okay. A government is a not-for-profit organization. So, my friends, whenever you need to check the performance of any not-for-profit organization, whenever you need to check the performance of any not-for-profit organization, the way to do is using 3 E's. 3 E's. And what are those 3 E's? Economy, efficiency, effectiveness. So whenever you need to check the performance of a not-for-profit organization, because their entire purpose, their primary purpose is not to earn profits. But yes, they do earn profits, but it's not the main purpose. So you can do this through 3 E's: economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. Got it? So one of the chosen method is the percentage of students passing 5 exams or more. Percentage of students passing 5 exams or more. Now, in 3 E's, one is effectiveness. And effectiveness means that object should be achieved. Object should be achieved. Economy means the input should be lowest cost input. Lowest cost input, which is the best in terms of the required quality. So the lowest cost input is economy. What is efficiency? Efficiency is input to output measure, which says that from the given input, the output should be maximum one. What is effectiveness? What is effectiveness? Whatever the output is, the output should be achieving the objective. So my friends, percentage of students passing 5 exams. This is passing 5 exams. And what a government want? A government want students to pass. So if they are passing the exam, it is clearly achieving the objective. And the objective achievement is known as effectiveness. Okay, its effectiveness objective is achieving. I'm sure you got it. The answer is C. MCQ number 7. Which of the following techniques is not relevant to target costing? The answer is simple: variance analysis. Now you will be shocked. Why variance analysis? Variance analysis relates to standard costing. What is the difference between target and standard? The difference is very simple, and remember this, what I'm saying. This is very important and a very good summarized statement that I am giving you right now. And I'm sure you'll like it. Standard costing is the difference between standard cost and actual cost. So standard costing is done after the production has completed. So you compare standard with actual and you get the variances, as I explained to you. And those variances are investigated and controlled for the next time. What is target costing? Target costing is a technique in which we identify a cost gap. And this cost gap is identified not after production, but this is identified before production. So if it is identified before production, which means there is no actual results. And if there is no actual results, it is not variance analysis. It is not variance analysis. Okay? So the purpose of the cost gap, is to reduce the cost before production. I hope you liked it. Okay? So the answer is B. Then comes MCQ 8. Once again a theoretical one. Now just check the frequency of theoretical and calculative MCQs. Just gauge the 15 MCQs of section A includes more theory or more calculation, or it's the balance. MCQ 8. A government department generates information which should not be disclosed to anyone who works outside the department, which means you need to maintain confidentiality. There are many other government departments working within the same building. Which one of the following would not be? Now this is once again a negative MCQ. I mean to say MCQ which is using words negative like not. So the focus should be on one option that is not achieving the purpose. So which of the following will not be an effective control procedure for the generation and distribution of information within the government department? Which option is not fulfilling this purpose of confidentiality? So the correct answer is that A. If working from home, departmental employees must use memory stick to transfer data. Memory sticks are what? Kind of a USB sticks, right? Memory sticks to transfer data, as laptop computers are not allowed to leave the department. Now this option is one that is not fulfilling the objective of confidentiality, because memory sticks can easily be kept somewhere, which can include the data, which anyone can access it. Number two, memory sticks are being used at home, so any data which is kept at home is never once again secured. So using memory sticks and working from home and transferring the data is always risky, because once your memory stick is lost, all data is gone. So this is the correct answer, which is A. All other options seems to be one that are supporting confidentiality. For example, passwords updation, yes. Authorized employees coming, yes, with proper identity cards, plus hard copies of confidential information must be shredded at the end of each day, yes. So these all are supporting the purpose. The rest, the only one is not actually supporting it. Okay, I'm sure you must have got this knowledge as well. Are you all clear, everyone? Okay. So the answer is option A, which is not fulfilling the purpose. Now comes the next one. A linear programming MCQ. A linear programming MCQ. And what the question is actually stating. I am in this teaching field since 10 years. Sorry, I'm taking your time. And I've taught lots of students within my city and outside the city as well now, and outside my country as well. Personally, if you ask me, the paper of F5 has become much more easier. Seriously speaking, it has become much more easier. MCQs, the level of MCQs are not difficult, my friends. If you have a good knowledge over F5, the way we cover the things in our regular classes, around 140 hours we teach there. 140 hours, which in some part of the world is never done. So the way we teach there, after that MCQs are peanuts. These MCQs are so straightforward that our workings done in the classes are more than enough for it. So my friend, this is the best opportunity. This September attempt was not at all difficult to pass. The MCQs were so easy that you would have scored easily. I'm not joking here. I'm not talking something impractical. Just the concept should be clear. You can do it. Okay. Now, a jewelry company makes rings and necklaces. The resources available to the company have been analyzed into two constraints and have been identified. You know what is linear programming? Linear programming is a multiple limiting factor technique. When there are more than one limiting factors, we go for limiting factor. When there is single limiting factor, we go for throughput or the marginal costing technique. But this is for multiple limiting factors. So there are two constraints. Labor time. The company has 2400 hours labor only. 3 hours are required for rings and 2 hours are required for necklaces. Machine is another limiting factor, having maximum of 410 hours, maximum. 0.5 hours for ring and 0.4 hours for necklaces. So these are the hours that are on maximum available. The management accountant uses linear programming to determine that R 500 and N should be 400. So the answer is there. This is the answer. This is the optimum plan. This is the plan which will increase your profit, which will maximize your profit. So 500 rings and 400 necklaces. This is the answer. Now it is asking for slack. What is slack? Underutilization. The amount by which a resource is not completely utilized. Amount by which the resource is not completely utilized. Now, my friends, what we need to do? We need to find where does slack exist. Does slack exist in labor time? Does slack exist in machine time? Remember, whichever is not fully utilized, whichever resource is not fully utilized is a one where there is a slack. Okay, so let's check it. The answer is 500 and 400. Optimum production plan. Rings 500, necklaces 400. Okay. Now let's put the answer in first equation. Labor time. Labor time. 3 hours, and if you produce 500 rings, plus 2 hours, and if you produce 400 necklaces, how many hours will you use? 2300 hours will be used. So how many hours are available? So the hours available are how much? The question says hours available are 2400. Okay. So how much hours are unused? 100 hours are unused. What is this? This is slack. When there is underutilization of a resource, my management accountants, when there is underutilization of a resource, remember this is slack. In the same way, let's check now for machine time. 0.5 hours into 500 plus 0.4 hours into 400. Hours that are 410 that you have used. And what's available? What's on offer? So the hours on offer are, wow, exactly 410. So there is no unused. So there is zero slack. No slack. So slack is what? Underutilization of a resource. Guys, is this clear? I'm sure each and everything is being cleared with a logical answer. Okay? So this is underutilization, and the answer is option number option A is the answer, because slack is at A. Got it, guys? Any issue? I hope not. Then comes MCQ number 10. Now what MCQ 10 says? At the end of 2001, investment center has a net assets of 1 million. Operating profits 190. Bookkeeper forgot to account for the following. This is a simple question of mathematics. Guys, this is a simple question. I wish I would have given exam in this era, you know. In fact, it's not era actually. The same time period that you are giving. Okay. I gave my paper way back in 2007. Okay. So at that time, and right now the paper is coming, this is difficult. This is easy, sorry. This is easy because of the MCQs. Now, forgot to account for the following. Net book value 40 at the start of, a machine with a net book value of 40 sold at the start of the year for 50,000. Obviously, there is a 10,000 gain on disposal because the net book value was 10,000 and you sold it for 50,000. So a gain on disposal of 10,000 will be booked. Is replaced with another machine costing 250. Both are cash transactions. So will have an impact on cash. Okay. And net assets do include cash. No depreciation is charged in the year of purchase and disposal. So there is no depreciation entry. So it's more easier. The investment center calculates ROI on the basis of closing net assets. Now what the examiner is mentioning is important. Now remember one thing, because we didn't got the opportunity, you didn't got the opportunity to cover RO and RA in class. Otherwise, I would have made it really easy for you people. But right now, one important thing I need to focus is on that when nothing is mentioned about the calculation of ROI and RI, when nothing is mentioned, we use start of the year assets. By default, it's an understanding that when nothing is mentioned about the calculation of ROI and RI, we use start of the year assets. But when it is mentioned, then you have to follow the instruction given by the examiner. So your examiner has mentioned here, use closing net assets. Okay? Calculate what is ROI. So it's a simple mathematical question. Now, how much is the gain on disposal? I already told you. 50 minus 40 is gain on disposal. So what the working will be? The working will be, first of all, gain on disposal. 50 minus 40 is 10,000. So profit of 190 will include the 10,000 gain on disposal to make profit 200,000. About net assets. The net asset figure right now given in the question is, I guess, 1 million. Okay. You sold a machinery having a net book value of 40,000. So your assets went down, but your cash went up by 50,000. Got it? Because you sold the machinery and you got cash. So minus 40 plus 50 for cash. So you bought new machinery. You bought new machinery. So your asset increased by how much? 250,000. But on the same time, you paid for that new machinery through cash. It's cash inflows and outflows. So you bought a new machinery, asset increased, cash got down. You sold a machinery, asset got down, cash increased. What is the net value of the net assets at the end of the year? Is 101,000. Come on, my friends. This is any class 10 student can also solve if he or she has a concept. So it's 200,000 divided by 101,000. Answer is 19.8. Did you got it? Done? So this is a simple adjustment that we had to make, and the work out the answer, that is 19.8. Got it. Now let's come to MCQ 11. And then now I'll take questions at the end of 15 questions. Total section A, okay? You remember I told you, and in fact I promised you, that I will teach you how to find the limiting factor if not mentioned in the paper. Remember? So here is the time has come now. Now I teach you how to find the limiting factor. So learn the technique how to find the limiting factor. So the technique is quite simple and quite clear. A manufacturing company uses 3 processes to make its 2 products, X and Y. The time available on 3 processes is reduced because of the need for preventative maintenance and rest breaks. The table below details the process time per product and daily time available. Okay. Now we are not sure which is the limiting factor. This is something I was talking about. In fact, to be very frank, there are different questions in which different ways can be applied to find out the limiting factor depending on the information provided in the question. So of whatever type the information is provided, you have to use according to that. Right now, I can find out which is the limiting factor. So hours available are 22, 22, 18. Hours required per unit are given to you. Daily demand is 10 and 16 for X and Y. So using the daily demand, let's work out which process is the most limiting factor. Most limiting factor. So what I will do here, it's simple. My friends, what we need to do here, we need to simply multiply the daily demand with the hours per unit. Okay. Now process 1. Hours available are how much? Process 1, hours available are 22 hours. 22 hours. Now, X 10 units multiplied by 1 is 10 hours for X. Y 16 units multiplied by 0.75 gives you 12. So total hours you require are 22 and you have 22. So process 1 is okay, fine, no issue. It's meeting the total hours required. Then process 3. First let's do for process 3. How many hours are available for process 3? Hours are 18. X, Y. X requires 1 hour each of process 3. So for 10 units, it's 10 hours. Process Y requires 0.5 hours. For 16 units, it will be 8 hours. So this is not the limiting factor because it is fulfilling the demand of the organization. It is allowing organization to fulfill its demand. So this is not the limiting factor. This is not the limiting factor. Now let's check for process 2. The hours available for 2 are 2200. Ten units into 0.75, 7.5. 16 into 1, 16 hours. If I add, this makes 23.5 hours. I can do everything on calculators. This is the best thing about MCQs. You don't have to show the workings. So don't bother showing the workings if the things are clear. So out of the 3, which is the biggest limiting factor? This is the limiting factor. This is a limiting factor and process 2 should never be stopped. Remember the concept? Process 2 should never be stopped because it is already a limiting factor. If process 2 hours are reduced even more, it will produce less units. So this is limiting factor because hours that you required hours are more compared to hours available. So this is one way of checking the limiting factor. Learn the trick, and the trick is compare required with available. The trick is compare required with available. If required are more, and available are less. This is the limiting factor. This is the limiting factor. If required hours are more and available are less, this is the limiting factor. And find the most limiting factor. Most limiting factor. Guys, so the answer is option A. Increase the efficiency of maintenance routine for process 2, because we cannot afford to stop process 2 because this is the limiting factor. Just recall that day example. Anything which is not a limiting factor, which is process 1 and process 3. So we can take rest on process 3. We can reduce the time of process 1 because these are non-limiting factors. Anything which is not a limiting factor can be allowed to have idle time, can be allowed to have underutilization. Remember my example? But anything which is a limiting factor is never allowed. So answer is A. Just concepts are being tested. It is just the concepts. No one can rectify it. It's just the concepts. Got it, guys? Now, you have any questions? Let me answer it till question number 11. Okay, any questions, please? Let me see here. Okay, one question was about target cost. I'm failing to find where. Yeah, question 7, MCQ 7. All other relates to target costing. Yes, for that you need to read the book. Value analysis, functional analysis, activity analysis, these are all the techniques through which we can reduce the cost gap. These are cost gap reduction techniques. Okay. If at a depreciation he will deduct from net book value or per exam question asked. Yeah, if the depreciation was to be worked out, so we would have then taken the impact of that in the net book value. If there is no cash, so then there must be some basis that if you are purchased on credit, so the impact would again go to on net assets because this time liability will increase. Okay. Yeah, I just gave the answer of no cash. There would be some other double entry that you need to pass. Come on, if there is a loss on gain, so you will reduce it. It's gain on disposal and it's loss on disposal. So you just reduce your profit by that. That's it, and you will receive lesser cash. Okay. Is this everything clear, everyone? Good. I'm sure you are getting a good amount of knowledge again through these MCQs. So are you? Any feedback? Is this worth it or not? Or we are just wasting our time? I'm sure this is worth it. Come on, quick feedback from everyone. New concepts you are getting, I'm sure. So please, I need your feedbacks. Everyone, does it worth it or not? Okay, thank you. Now, Let's move on to the next MCQ. Okay, before we move on to the next MCQ, I would like to get just a 2-minute short break. Okay, just a 2-minute short break. In 2 minutes, I'll start. Okay, so welcome back. Now, MCQ number 12 was about okay. Now, this is a planning operational question, and in fact, we also had a discussion about in our webinar as well. So, the standard price is 0.5 and KD of 0.2. Standard price of recyclable plastic was expected to reduce to 0.4. The actual price paid by the company was 0.42 and 20,000 kgs were recycled. So it's a simple question of what we can say planning operational, and it will be dealt in a very simple way. I told you a tactic, if you remember, and the tactic was you need to work out operational price. So the tactic was very simple, and what was that? It was R versus A. Okay, R versus A. So because you are working out operational price, so the tactic will be R versus A. So what is the revised standard? The revised standard is clearly given to you, and that is 0.4. And what is the actual 0.42? So it's 0.4 minus 0.42 into actual kgs of 20,000. The answer is 400. Now what the answer is representing, this is basically an adverse answer because this is negative, and I told you when it's negative, it's adverse. So you actually paid more than what was required to be. So this is 400 adverse. This is very simple MCQ, and I think you people will be lucky if you get these type of questions in the examinations. So the answer is option C. Now this is a good question. Let's first discuss 14 and then let's come to 13 later on. First, let's discuss 14. Which of the following statement regarding market penetration as a pricing strategy is correct? What is market penetration strategy, my friends? Market penetration strategy is a one in which you sell the products at a lower price. You sell the products at a lower price, and the purpose of that is to get a larger market share. Penetration strategy means sell products at lower price to gain a big market share, so that you can get a lot of market share. So this is penetration strategy. Now, is it useful for economies of scale? The answer is yes. Because if you sell at a lower price, you will get a big market share. And if you get a big market share, that will result in significant economies of scale. It is also useful when product is highly elastic. So the answer is yes. What is elastic demand? Elastic demand means a small change in price will bring a huge impact on demand. A small change in price will bring a huge impact on demand. This is elastic demand. Price reduces, demand increases. So when you are going towards a penetration pricing policy, my friends, a small reduction in price would increase the demand significantly. Which means if you sell anything for a lower price, so you can easily capture a bigger demand. So the answer is B. Both 1 and 2 are the correct statements. Got it? Now, MCQ 13. A profit center claims that poor performance of her division is entirely due to factors outside her control. Remember, once we had a discussion about planning operation in our webinar class, I told you factors which are not controllable, you need to revise the standard. She has submitted the following table along with notes from a market expert, which you believe explain the cause of her poor performance. So the sales volume is 500, actual units are given to you. The entire market has decreased by 25% compared to last year. The product will be obsolete in 4 years. You got it, everyone? The product will be obsolete in 4 years. Now, if you look here, so it's quite clear that if the product is obsolete in 4 years, then this is something not under the control of the manager. Then comes sales revenue. Rivalry in the market saw selling prices fall by 10%. This is something uncontrollable. As demand for raw material is decreasing, suppliers lowered their prices by 5%. This is something not in control. Now, after adjusting for external factors, and these are the external factors, okay? In which categories is there evidence of poor performance? So the answer is quite clear. We can just solve this particular MCQ by solving just 2. And now this is the technique. Then learn the technique. You can save time here because the options provided in the question are in such a way that if you work smartly, you can solve the question by doing lower calculations. This is how the answer is structured. Now listen, I'll tell you the technique here, how to work smarter here. First, let's do one thing. Let's first do calculation for material variance. Now, as for the question, if you look here, so what the question was asking for, the question was actually asking for the factors after adjusting where is poor performance. So let's start with material variance. Now, let's work out the material price variance because it's quite simple that the signal is of price because 5% prices have gone down. So first of all, what I'll be doing here is 10,000 is the cost, divide by 500. $20 is the material cost I'll get per unit. 20 is the material cost per unit I'll get here. Okay, got it? Now, if I revise the standard, this is the original standard. If I revise it, because 5% decrease was because of the factor which were not under control. So let's calculate 0.95 of this. So the revised standard makes 19. Revised standard makes 19. What is the actual cost per unit? It's 21.67 per unit. Now, if you compare the revised standard with the actual cost, it's adverse. It's adverse because revised cost is less and the actual cost is more. So this is adverse. You got it? You didn't have to solve it completely. You found out that this is adverse. So after the revision, it's still adverse. So this is poor performance in material area. So now listen, poor performance in material area. Okay. Now this is for sure that material is the answer. Material is the answer. Now just learn the tactic, what I'm doing here. Material is the answer. Now just check material costs options are how many here, in which material cost is given. You will like the technique, give me your feedbacks. Okay, this is a shortcut. Option A has material cost. Option C has material cost, which means answer will either be A or C. B is out of question. D is out of question. Is this a good technique? Because B does not include material cost and D does not include material cost. And material cost is the answer because there is poor performance. So my friends, answer will be A or C. Now, what's the difference in A and C? A is just material cost, C is sales price and material cost. So let's do quickly the calculation of material sales price and let's find out the answer, which means what we skipped sales volume variance. We will not waste our time on working for sales volume variance. So this is how we saved our time in MCQs. And this is the art. This is actively solving a question. Work smarter. Don't just work everything. You need to be street smart. Don't be book smart. Try to be street smart, and this is street smart. Okay? So now let's work for revenue. Selling price 50,000 divided by 500 is 10. Okay? Sorry, 100. So this is the original standard. Now what it says, the price is reduced by 10%. Okay, so let's make it revised. Take 90% of that. So this is 90. So this is now revised standard. Compare revised with actual. R versus A. Remember? Such a great technique. R versus A. Actual. So what is actual? We can work out. Actual is 28,500 divided by 300 and the actual answer is 95. So what's the answer? It's favorable because revised standard says you have to sell it for 90 and you actually sold for 95. So it's a favorable variance. Got it, my friends? This is a favorable variance. That's it. So it's clear now. In selling price, there is no poor performance, so the option A is the final answer. No need to calculate volume. No need to bother to look at B or D. The answer is A. Like the technique? A quick feedback, please. Come on, you got it. What the shortcut is? Okay. Material cost. Yes, material cost. I worked out material cost was very simple. It's a simple thing. I didn't work out actually material price variance. My working was on total. I worked out using cost per unit because I didn't have kgs given here. So I worked out the standard cost per unit, then the revised cost per unit, and compared that with the actual cost per unit. So it was done on the basis of cost per unit, my friend. Cost per unit. I was not provided with anything like total kgs, so that I would have worked out the price per kg. Okay. So I'm sure this must help you to solve the question. And And why I didn't work out sales volume is because let me repeat it again because I don't know what the sound problem is at your end. First, I worked out for material cost and I found out that material performance was poor. Material performance was poor. So if you look at the options, material performance option is A and C. There is no B or D. So if there is no B, because in B there is no material cost, and the answer material cost is quite clear because there was poor performance. So if answer is not B because there is no material cost, then I don't have to calculate sales volume because I'm sure that material cost is the answer that I found out through finding the material cost poor performance. So if material cost is not in option B, so B is out of question. So in that case, you don't have to calculate sales volume because volume was only option given in B. Okay. Now the last MCQ for section A is 15, activity based costing question. I'm sure this is a simple one because it's nothing. It's a simple calculative MCQ. I told you when we had a discussion about ABC, I told you that now this will be tested in MCQs only, and you don't have to work out the entire thing. It's just the few workings that you have to do to calculate the answers. So now solving ABC MCQ questions requires a very good trick, and the trick is first read the question. First read the question so that you can just make a plan in your mind till where you have to work out. So you need to work out what? Fixed overheads amount absorbed each unit of B. So your working should just be restricted to B, and you need to calculate just the fixed overhead cost per unit. Actually, it's the overhead cost per unit that you need to work out. So fixed cost related to material handling and fixed cost relating to general fixed overheads. This is 100,000, this is 180,000. Fixed cost that relates to material handling will be absorbed on the basis of volume of material purchased. Volume of material purchase. Okay? And fixed cost on the basis of labor will be worked out on the basis of labor hours. Okay? So as we are not provided with labor hours, so we can work using labor cost per unit as well. It's the same thing, we'll get the same answer. Because in this cost per unit, hours impact is already included. So what I need to do first? Cost pool, cost driver. There's no need to write in the paper for MCQs as well. Okay, I'm just writing for your explanation. So the first cost pool is material handling, and the amount of that is 100,000. The cost driver for that. The cost driver is the amount, volume of material purchased. So what you need to do? You need to work out the purchase cost of material. And how will you do it? So it's quite simple. Product A, 10,000 units, B 2,000. Per unit cost for A is 10, per unit cost for B is 20. So 1,000 multiplied by 10. And this is for A. Okay, plus for second product, the units are 2,000 multiplied by 20 for B. So the amount purchased, material cost purchased is how much? Is 50,000. So now divide this by 50,000 and you will get the OAR of 2 per dollar of material purchased. According to question, you had to use the volume of material purchased, right? So what you did, you multiplied the material cost per unit with the number of units and you got the total material cost. So what you did, you divided the total material cost with the cost pool and you got the OAR of 2 per dollar of material cost. Same you will do for general overheads. Amount of general overheads is 1,80,000. You need to divide it by with the labor hours, but as you are not giving the labor hours, so you will do with labor cost per unit in the same way as you did right now. So calculate the OAR. 1000 multiplied by per unit cost of labor is 5 plus 2000 multiplied by per unit cost of labor is 20. A, B. So the figure that will be is 45,000. So what is the OAR? $4 per dollar of labor. You can easily find these two in a question given here. Got it, guys? All okay? So now you got two OARs. So now let's absorb it. One is 2 and one is 4. So how to absorb per unit of B? Material handling. Per unit cost of material handling is how much? Per unit cost of material, and this is per unit of B, okay? Per unit cost of material handling is $2. Sorry, it's 20 multiplied by OAR of 2 and you got it 40. For general overheads, it's $20 multiplied by OAR of 4 and it's 80, so it's 120. Okay, so the answer is 120. So this was a simple question of ABC that you had to work out here and find the answers, which is not that difficult. If you have a good amount of understanding, I'm sure you can easily cope up with these type of questions. So my friends, this was the end of section A, 30 marks area of MCQs. Okay, this is all fine. For which MCQs are you talking about? Okay. Now guys, is this all clear? So we are done with the first section. And now, as we are left with just 20 more minutes, so let's once again discuss another section B, MPQ based question, scenario based MCQs, because we have done practice of the long questions. That's why the entire focus right now of mine is on these MCQs. So need to choose between one. So I need to choose between one, and let's solve a question that was relating to flexible budget. This is a good question. Now, this is a scenario-based 5 MCQ case. Coffee is a business which manufactures computer laptop batteries and has developed a new battery which has longer use time than batteries available. The selling price of the battery is forecast to be 45. The maximum production capacity is 262,500. The management accountant is currently preparing an annual flexible budget and has collected the following information so far. Okay. In addition to the above cost, the management accountant estimates that for each increment of 50,000 units produced, one supervisor will need to be employed. A supervisor annual salary is 35,000. Okay, got it. The production manager does not understand why flexible budgets have been produced, as he always used fixed budget previously. Assuming the budget figures are correct, what would be the flexed total production cost? What would be the flexed total production cost if production is 80% of the maximum capacity? Now, this is very simple, because what you need to do, first of all, maximum capacity is 262,500. Okay, so you will work out the 80% of 262,500, and that will be 210,000. Now, my friends, if you have calculators in your hand, just keep your calculators in your hand and learn the tactic. Once again, a good tactic, because sometimes the question do trick a lot. Material cost is normally a variable cost. Yes. Labor cost is also many times a variable cost. Yes, but this might not be the case. So just understand this point. This might not be the case. Why? Because sometimes there is an element of semi-variable in that as well. Because the cost is a semi-variable cost, and in that case you need to apply what? You need to apply the limit, sorry, you need to apply Hilo method. So the best way to check it, keep calculators in your hand. I'm just telling you orally. Okay. First, let's check for material cost. 750,000 divided by 85. Quickly tell me the answer, any one of you. What's the per unit answer? 4. 4? Yeah. So it's 4. So 1,017,500 divided by 185,000, 1,740,000 divided by 185,000, it's 4. Now, do the same working using 900,000 divided by 225,000. Come on, 900,000 divided by 225,000. Do the same working, please. Again, it's what? Again, the answer will be 4. The same. Good. Now, if the answer per unit is constant, it is a pure variable cost. If the answer per unit is constant, it's a pure variable cost. Got it? Check for labor as well, very quickly. 1,017,500 divided by 185. Tell me the answer per unit. And do the same working for 1,237,500 divided by 225,000. Is it same 5.5 everyone? Yeah, it's same. Now, if it is same, it is a pure variable cost. So remember, when the cost per unit is same, it's a pure variable cost. It's a pure variable cost. Okay, and if the per unit cost changes, if the pure variable cost changes, then my friend, what it means? It means that it is a semi-variable cost. If per unit cost changes, it's a semi-variable cost. And when it is a semi-variable cost, what you need to do? You need to break through high-low method. So this could easily be tested in the examination. Remember my words. If per unit cost is not constant, it's a semi-variable cost. Anyways, right now both are variable cost, 4 and 5.5. Fixed cost is fixed cost. And one more cost you need to work out is for every 50,000 units, you need a supervisor, and the salary of the supervisor is 35,000. So how many supervisors will be required? Material cost, labor cost, 4 multiplied by 210, 5.5 multiplied by 210. Why 210? The total capacity on offer was how much? I think it's 262,500. Yeah. I need to take the 80% of that. So it's 210. Okay. So this is the material cost and this is the labor cost. What do you need to add here? The fixed cost. And what's that? 750,000. Got it, everyone? Now you need to add one more thing, is a supervisor cost. So what's that? What's the supervisor cost? It's for every 50,000 you require one supervisor. So just imagine for 210 units you require how many supervisors? For first 51, for second 52, for third 53, for fourth 54, and for fifth 50,000 units which are not completed, you need fifth one. So 5 supervisors are required here. For 210,000 units, you require 5 supervisors, because for every 50 it's 1 and the salary of each is 35,000 multiplied by 5. Okay, so the total cost came is 2,920,000. Got it, everyone? Is this okay? So for every 50,000 we need 1. So for 210,000 we require how many? 5 supervisors. The salary of each is 35. You multiply these two, it becomes 175. So the answer is 2,920,000. Got it? Okay. So answer is D. Now, MCQ 22. Management accountant has said that machine maintenance cost was not included in the flexible budget and needs to be taken into account. The new battery will be manufactured on a machine currently owned by the company which was previously used for the product which has now been discontinued. The management accountant estimates that every, this is important, 1,000 units will take 14 hours to produce. So this is kind of a batch. For every batch of 14 hours will be used. So quickly calculate, if you have 210,000 units and for every 1,000 unit 14 hours will be used. So this shows that in one batch there are 1,000 units. So it shows what? That in one batch there are 1,000 units. Got my point, everyone? In one batch there are 1,000 units. Is this clear, everything? Done? Okay. Now, don't leave before I end up this entire question, okay? Be with me till the end. So what I need to do? The annual machine hours and maintenance cost of machine in the last 4 years have been as follows. Now, quickly check this is variable or semi-variable. Do the same tactic, apply the same tactic that I told you. And what was that? 850 divided by 5,000. Come on, apply the same tactic. Is this variable or a semi-variable? Calculate 850 divided by 5,000. See what is the per unit answer. Then do the same thing. 815,000 divided by 4850. Is the answer per unit same or not? Come on. It's not same. It's not same. It's not same. If you divide it correctly, the per unit answer is not same. 850 divided by 850,000 divided by 5,000. 735,000 divided by 4,400. It's not same, which means it is not a variable cost. It's a semi-variable cost, and you need to apply high-low method. High-low method here. Okay, so let's apply the high-low method. Highest cost minus lowest cost divided by highest activity minus lowest activity. 125 per hour is the variable figure. This is high-low method. I'm sure you all know it. Highest cost minus lowest cost. Highest activity minus lowest activity. Now let's calculate the fixed cost. So at highest, what is the fixed cost? Total cost was 850 less the variable cost. 5,000 multiplied by 125. Okay, so what's 5,000 multiplied by 125? 625,000. So what's the fixed element in this? It's 225. So I'm sure this is a useful technique to find whether it is variable or semi-variable. Just calculate the per unit at two activity levels. If it is same, it's variable. If it is not, it is semi-variable. Apply high-low method. So it's now very simple. How many units we are producing? And in one batch, how many units are? 1,000 units. So how many batches total? 210 batches. In total, there are 210 batches. Did you got it, everyone? Is this clear? Okay. So if there are 210 batches, now what you need to do? Just hold on for a minute, please. Okay, now, so you have 210 batches then, and per batch, how many hours are used? So the answer is per batch 14 hours. So let's calculate the labor cost. 210 batches multiplied by 14 hours per batch multiplied by the hourly rate. And what's the hourly rate here? It's 125. So you got a figure of how much? $367,500, and this is variable cost. Now let's add fixed cost, and what's that? 225,000. It's 592,500. Now nearest to the thousands, you have to tell the answer. So what's the nearest of this? Is 593,000. So this was a trick here. And what was that? This one. For every 1,000 units, you require 14 hours. So if you are producing 210,000 units, so how many batches actually you produce? Because in one batch there are 1,000 units. So 210 batches, per batch take 14 hours, rate is 125, you add fixed cost, the answer is 593, as we need to tell the answer to the nearest 1,000. So the nearest 1,000 is 593. I'm sure this must be clear. Okay. Now, let's quickly discuss the last three theoretical ones, and be with me here. Don't leave, because again I'll be telling you how to work it more smarter. Okay, in first month of production of a new battery, actual sales was 18,000 and sales revenue achieved was 702. The budgeted sales units were 17,300. Okay. So the units actual and budgeted are different. Okay. On the basis of this information, which of the following is true? And the answer is C. Now, when the budget is flexed, now flexed means what? I told you the concept. Don't get confused. Remember, I told you how to make a flexed budget. Units will be of actual. Concept was given to you. Units will be of actual. If units are of actual, then there is no difference of volume here, because there is no difference between budgeted and actual, because in a flex budget the units are what? Actual. So if units are actual, there is no need for sales volume variance, my friend. No need for sales volume. There is no need for sales volume, because in flex budget the units are of actual. And just recall what sales volume tells you. Sales volume is the difference between what? Budgeted sales units, actual sales units. This is the difference of sales volume. But if the units are, if it is a flex budget, automatically units will be of actual. So there will be no need of sales volume. Only one difference needs to be adjusted, and that will be sales price, because units are actual in flex budget. So the answer is C. Sales volume will include only, sales variance will only include sales price variance. Frankly speaking, this seems to be a F2 question, because if you remember in F2 you used to make operating statement in variances, and in that operating statement you used to start from budgeted profit and used to end at actual profit. A reconciliation, remember? So if the units are of actual, so there is no need to show volume variance. Okay. Now, the last two. Which of the following statement relating to preparation of flexible budget for new battery are true? Okay. Now once again, work smarter. Rather than reading everything, let's work smarter. The budget could be time consuming to produce, as splitting out semi-variable costs may not be straightforward. The first statement is correct or not? The answer is yes, it's correct. Because in flexible budget, you need to split semi-variable costs the way we did right now. The way we did right now, you need to split it into two. Did you got it, my point? Okay. So yes, this is time consuming. If you are confident about first statement, because in MCQs, something should be closest to your concept. If you're confused, just see what is closest to your concept and you will have no issues. I'll take 5-7 minutes more, okay? Don't leave. This is the most important thing. So my friends, if statement 1 is correct and you are confident about it, yes, it is time consuming, then just see what other options are available in which statement 1 is given. So it's A, it's B, it's C, but in D there is no one. In D there is no one. So D is out of question. D is out of question because you're confident about statement 1 being correct. So don't have to think of B. Don't have to think of D here. Okay. Now if D is not the option, which statements are of no use? Now let's see. So answer will be between A, B and C only. Okay. The range of output over which assumptions about how costs will behave could be difficult to determine. Now, is this a correct answer? Yes, because the cost may be semi-variable, cost may be variable, cost may be fixed. So it will be difficult to determine how the cost will behave. There could be semi-fixed cost as well, semi-variable, semi-fixed cost as well. There could be step fixed cost as well. So depending on the output range, it will be difficult to find out how the cost will behave. So this is correct. Okay. So statement 1, statement 2, both are correct. So now the option will be either A or B, because you are also confident about statement 2. Automatically the other options are going out of question. Third, the flexible budget will give managers more opportunity to include budgetary slack than a fixed budget. This is a wrong statement because flexible budget removes slack. Slack is what? Slack is what? Making easy targets for yourself. Slack is by making easy targets for yourself. This is slack. So flexible budget removes this opportunity because you makes the budget using actual results. Okay. The last, the budget will encourage all activities and their value to the organization to be reviewed and assessed. The budget will encourage all activities and their value to the organization to be reviewed and assessed. So this is not, once again, any correct statement here. So the correct answer is quite clear, and that is option number A. Statement 1, statement 2 are the answers. Okay. The last one, management accountant uses spreadsheets. Spreadsheet is a Microsoft Excel, okay, in which you do multiple workings. A spreadsheet is Microsoft Excel, which provides you a very good opportunity to play with the data. I'm sure many of you must have used Excel. How many have worked on Excel? Come on, tell me, how many of you have worked on Excel? A quick yes. Yeah, so you know it, what Excel is. So Now, spreadsheets. What it says, which of the following are the benefits regarding the use of spreadsheets? The user can change input variables and a new version of budget can be quickly produced. Yes, because if you worked on spreadsheet, you know, you just have to change few things and you can make another budget, because you use formula in that. Using the formula, it's quite easy. Okay, so statement 1 is correct here. What about statement 2? Error in the formula can easily trace and data can be difficult to corrupt in a spreadsheet. So this is not a benefit, because once you have done an error in the formula, it might get difficult to trace. It might get difficult to trace because normally we rely too much on computer or spreadsheets. And data is easily corrupted in a spreadsheet. So this is actually the disadvantage, not the advantage. Third, a spreadsheet can take account of qualitative factors. So it's never, computer does not understand qualitative factors. It's a drawback of a spreadsheet, not an advantage. It does not consider qualitative factors. Last, manager can carry out sensitivity more easily on budget which is held in a spreadsheet. So yes, this is the answer, because what is spreadsheet? Sorry, what is sensitivity? You must know the knowledge of sensitivity. Sensitivity means which variable is critical. Which variable is critical for the organization. So in sensitivity, we change each and every variable separately. We change each and every variable in isolation to see the impact it will bring on the results. So on Excel, it is very easy to do it, because if on Excel, if you have created the model, you have inputted the right formulas. If you change just selling price, for example, so if you change the selling price, the answer will be changed. So what you can see is, for example, if we reduce the selling price, how much impact will it bring on the profit? So it is easy to do sensitivity analysis on a spreadsheet. Same goes for if you change variable cost only, because sensitivity allows to change one variable at a time. So if you increase the variable cost, so what impact will it bring on the profit? So it is easy to judge. So yes, sensitivity can be performed. So the correct answer is C, A and C, 1 and 4. So I'm sure this is the time that I was given, and I tried my best again. I discussed around 25 MCQs, 20 MCQs in front of you, and I tried my best to give you maximum knowledge of all the areas that we didn't got the opportunity to cover in the webinar, so that I can tell you the techniques of solving the MCQs, calculations and things like that. So I've spent the entire time today on MCQs so that you get to know how to solve it. Work smarter in MCQs. Be confident on the statements. Just find out the statements which you think you are confident more. Listen what I'm saying. And on the basis of those confident statements, just find out the correct answer. Don't question spot. Complete your examination preparation covering all the areas, because MCQs will test everything. Due to limited time, I need to end here, but my wish is that I teach you entire thing in F5 so that you pass. It's my wish that I teach you everything with new techniques, but due to limitation of time, I cannot, but I tried my best. I hope you all will pass in your examination. Best of luck, guys.
Stay blessed. This was the last session officially we are having on the ACCA platform. So thank you very much. Once again, ACCA, thank you very much for providing me opportunity, and you people for trusting me. Stay blessed. Best of luck for exam. Bye. And please remember, do give your feedbacks, please, right now. So quickly, just a quick feedback. Just write in the chat box, what's your feedback about the today's session? Please, quickly, everyone. You owe me one thing, is a feedback. So I can expect one thing, and that is feedback. So please, every one of you, I know it's difficult to write feedbacks, but I need it. It is important for me. This is something, sense of motivation and encouragement that I get from the feedback. So I need one from you. Please do update right now and do give your feedbacks to ACCA regarding my entire session. I will love to improve myself. You give me a constructive feedback, and ACCA as well, about my session. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Bye.